solicitors and like sending stuff. Like it's a complex process if you're not used to it, if you've never done it before. Absolutely.
Welcome back to the Property Strategist podcast.
Hello.
Your boy Gokes in the building.
Your boy Kenny here.
Got your boy Akin in the building.
How you lot doing?
We're going good, man. We're having a good, strong, productive week, aren't we? So
Yeah.
It's good, man. I'm just feeling good, man. Happy to be in the studio
Feeling real
as
good?
always. As always, man.
Yeah,
How has your week actually been? Like, what have you been up to?
you have a lot of fun?
I'm just trying to remember the week quickly. I went theatre this week, which was nice.
What'd you watch?
I watched Prince of Egypt.
I watched that.
Yeah, you have as well.
Yeah, lovely movie, lovely
I can remember
production.
the date.
Should I say?
Not date. My sister's graduation, so I took her.
Oh, okay. I just thought
Who's the lucky girl?
This is what these guys like to do with me. I don't understand. Like, I'm actually innocent in this life. Like, I'm just trying to do me.
Wow.
Yeah, I can
Yeah,
remember
what was
the
you
dates.
doing? How was your date night on this week?
I just gone date night, but we
Yeah.
tried, don't I? Yeah, we tried. I was actually working hard. You know?
Okay, cool.
Trying to make money properly. But anyway,
Come on.
we got someone
Kenny.
special in the building.
Very
Come
special.
on.
Do you want to introduce yourself, Radhika?
Yeah, I'm Radhika.
Really nice to have you on. We're as you guys know, we're doing a series at the moment called Women in Property.
Yes, we are.
So you're our number one guest that we got.
Oh, really?
Yeah, you're number one guest. Yeah, we've got a lot of people lined up, but you're the first to grace the stage. So
Yes.
congratulations.
Thanks for having me.
No, you're welcome. I guess we're just gonna start from the beginning. Trying to get a bit of a background. What was your background before property? What was you doing? Did you go to uni? Did you not? And how did you kind of get into what you're doing now?
Yeah, so going back to when I was 18, I basically didn't get the grades that I wanted. So I took a gap year, retook some of my exams, and then ended up doing a sports science degree, which was just,
The guy before that we spoke about, that was just there, he done the same thing as well.
Oh, really?
Crazy.
Sports science is
And
nice.
he didn't really use it ever, but yeah.
I wanted to do maths and sports science, but I just didn't get the grades to do it. And I didn't want to take another gap year. So I was just like, let's just stick with sports science and then figure it out. And and then I didn't want to study anymore. So I kind of just did my last year as and when it was. And then I was trying to look for a job, but then I was traveling. So I spent my summer doing Camp America, came back for a couple of weeks, and then went to Cambodia, Vietnam, Thailand.
Backpacking or that kind of
It was like a 2-week organised trip, if that makes sense.
Would you stay in the hostels and stuff, or was it more like...
You could probably call them hostels, but they
Hostels.
were like
Actually,
hotels, like really cheap hotels.
motels.
Like really cheap
okay,
hotels
cool.
and guest
Wow,
houses.
okay,
But
cool.
some of the places were nice, some of them were like, okay.
Okay, cool.
And I didn't know what I wanted to do. And then I got this crazy, stupid job selling in the streets.
Oh,
Wow.
out in Cambodia.
No. In England. I was there for 2 weeks.
I was gonna cool.
Oh, wow. It went left. It went left out there.
Wow.
Yeah,
In
so
England.
sorry,
In England,
in
London.
Yes.
in London, like
Okay.
those people that sell like on the streets, like selling charities and things like that. I was one of those.
I'm a sucker for that, you know.
Yeah.
I was one of those people for
How was
about
that?
6 weeks. It was brainwash,
Wow.
like in the nicest possible way. Like, I learned so much about rejection and like just little things like that, and working hard, but I couldn't speak for 3 weeks. I was drinking day nurse every single day to try and make myself feel better and get energy, and I just couldn't even speak. And
Is it hourly rate or is it just commission?
No, so you just get commission.
Yeah.
So any
That's hard.
Slavery, basically.
and it was like certain age groups get more money. So like the older generation who would stick and like pay monthly and stuff like that. I mean, the charities were good, but I just don't understand why they need people to like stand in the streets.
Oh, so
for
the
example.
charities
And they
make
spend a
sense.
lot
Okay,
of money
cool.
doing it. But I did that for 6 weeks, and I went out. My friend moved down to London, and we went out on a Sunday and got drunk, obviously. And then I woke up the next day and I was like, I don't want to go in. And I went in there. Sorry, this is like diverting
No,
from the
go
whole
for it.
conversation.
It's all relevant part of the journey.
Come on.
Yeah, so I woke up the next day and I was like, I don't want to do this anymore. And the guy, I waited 2 hours to see the guy, and he did not give me the time of day. The guy who like ran the business or whatever it was, and he didn't give me the time of day. And I was sat there waiting for 2 hours, like trying to speak to him. He was going up and down, just no acknowledgement whatsoever. So I just walked out, and I was like, then I called back this recruiter that I was speaking to before, and I was like, I need a proper job. So, yeah.
Okay, cool.
That's how you kind of segued into what
No,
you're
so
doing now?
I think I worked for 5 or 6 weeks and then stumbled into property through an Instagram post. One of my friends just posted about something, and I was like, oh, what's this? And yeah, just like found out a little bit more about it.
Yeah.
Started going to like network meetings. My first network meeting was horrendous.
Why? Why was it horrendous?
Well, I was so out of depth. Like it was like full of old men, and it was like really awkward. And yeah, I was just sat there like, who is this? And this guy was just like harassing me. He was like, why don't you have a business card? Like, what do you want to do in property? And
I
I'm
was
like,
about to give a name, but
and he was like, oh, you should like put
Was
property.
this a popular networking kind of event?
Yeah.
did you have to pay for the course?
I can try to. It's just a networking event.
You don't want to
No,
give
networking.
the name.
my
Let's
bad.
let's not say the name.
Yeah, I won't say the name, but like
Okay.
it was just horrendous. And I was like, this guy's like, he's like, you should have a strategy every time. And I was like, I literally knew about property for
a
like
couple
2
weeks
weeks.
ago, yeah.
Wow.
And the courage that it takes to go to one of these
No,
meetings,
it's
like
real.
it was, yeah. So yeah, then just started learning more about it. Just started doing the online stuff and YouTube, podcast. I don't even know if podcast was a thing then, but definitely YouTube and watching like online videos and stuff.
Okay.
And then just started learning more about it.
Is this someone you learnt from the most, or is this someone you can say that person probably was a big person, or was it just all self-taught? Would you say?
A little bit of both. Like
Okay.
a little bit of both. Yes, I've paid for a course, but I'll go into that like outside of this
Interesting.
podcast.
Ooh. You can add it if you want.
Yeah, you can.
I've had some bad stories as well. I've shared on the podcast. They know.
I'll go into it, but I am part of like this, the same one that Alfred's part of now is like this.
Oh, Alfred, cool.
Mastermind.
Sorry?
Is it Mastermind? What's it called?
It's called Real Life Tribe. Like he's got his own mastermind
Okay,
as
cool,
well,
cool,
but it's like, it's just a chance for everyone to like connect, ask questions. Like every Monday there's a mastermind and we just jump on, everyone asks questions and it's open. And I think there's so much value as part of it. And it's not an expensive investment, if that makes sense. Like it's not, I mean, not expensive investment, but like some of these you pay like so much money and it's just the value's not there. Whereas like this is like a cheaper way for people to get in. But I just get so much value out of it. I'm not like trying to sell it to anyone, but I was just like, you can do as much or as little as you want. So
Not to obviously, I'm not trying to go into depth of the situation with the property course, but what would you say was, why didn't you really gain much from it? Would you say it was down to you, what you were sold, or was just the course itself was just rubbish, or what?
I was completely naive. I was 23 trying to make it, and I remember going and saying to people like, I'm going to get this much money, I'm going to get this many properties, etc. And I was so naive, not even understanding like anything to do with property. I've never bought property. I've never even understood how to buy a property. Like it's complex. Like if no one's been through the process, speaking to mortgage brokers and solicitors and like sending stuff, like it's a complex process if you're not used to it, if you've never done it before.
Absolutely.
So and understanding like refurbishments and these courses, and I don't want to like give a bad name to them, but they say get as many properties as you can and deal with the problems later. Don't like, for me that is the number one thing if I could tell anyone, is that there's no rush to buying and learning through the journey, because you're going to learn so much going through that one property. And this is why like me and my business partners, we were like, we want to get 5 properties this year. I just want to buy one a year now, because as you get more properties, it's like it's so time consuming and so many problems. And
Honestly.
if one problem happens on each property, like there's a lot of time and energy on it, and you have to be on top of everything. So if that was me, like now we're just like trying to buy like maybe 1 or 2 a year, depending on how big the
Scaling up
refurbishment
slowly,
is.
basically.
Sorry?
Scaling up slowly, like
And I guess it's good to think of it more like on a long-term point of view, because I think for us, when we first started, we were like, I want 5 properties. I want 5 rent-to-rents this year per year. Or, you know what I mean? Like, you always start like that. And then you realize, you know what? I was just rushing. Like, let me pace this out. Like, there's so much time here. I don't need to rush. You know what I'm saying?
But this is the one thing I hate about courses now. And if I could go back and I knew this, like if I knew this, it's just that they rush people into knowing that, and it becomes the norm of who can get the most properties in 1 year. And that becomes the norm. And it's not about that. It's not about about how many properties you have, because if they're not paying you or you've got problems with it, that's a liability. That's not giving you money every single month. And
people don't speak about that enough sometimes, I guess.
What's that, sorry?
Some people don't speak about that enough, like the issues and the nightmare stories. It's always about, I've got another 5 properties again, and it's always about how I'm winning, as opposed to...
Yeah, people don't really share their story of struggle. They just show their winnings or the keys, holding the keys, but people want to know the whole journey.
Exactly.
How did you get there?
Yeah. So if you take it back again, obviously you're talking about how, you did the course. Were you in full-time work then? Was you...
Yeah. I still work full-time.
You still work full-time? Okay, cool.
Yeah, so I was working full-time, and I think this is probably one of the reasons why I couldn't make the most of it as well. Like, it definitely wasn't the course or anything, because like you've got to have a level of understanding when you go into something like that. But I was still working full-time. It was a big commitment to keep traveling, learning, going viewing properties, and yeah, it was just... it was hard to balance, and I was burnt out a lot throughout that whole year. I don't want to say I was depressed, but like I was in a really bad place, and it was just so burnt out. I hated everything to the point where I even stopped for a couple of weeks I was like, do I even want to do property? And I think people need to understand, like, is it something that they want to go into or not?
It's true. It's true.
It's true.
Okay, bringing it back again. So obviously you've gone through all of that, and then talk us through like your first ever property deal. How did that come about? And just tell us the numbers and what actually happened.
Yeah, so my first deal was pretty easy.
Again? Wow.
Can everyone just everyone take a second and look at Akin? Because consecutively, his phone has gone off.
Sorry about that.
I would tell him to turn his phone off.
I just can't believe it.
I mean, they're tenants. What can I do?
How dare you?
What can I do?
No filter on this podcast, but how dare you?
No tenants.
Anyways,
sorry, tenants.
Radhika, you were saying.
This is them. You know we would brush this over, but you know...
We're not brushing over. Everyone focus on Akin for a second. That is
Radhika,
shameful.
sorry about that.
I know.
Look at the camera.
Look at the camera. Sorry, apologize to all the viewers.
Yeah, sorry. Yeah, I'm sorry.
Sorry, carry on. So your first deal.
So my aunt, who is also my business partner now, 2 of my aunts are my business partners.
Amazing.
She had an opportunity. She knew someone who was sourcing properties in the north, in Burnley specifically, and she was like, okay, like, we just got to know her, and she basically bought a deal, and there was the exact same deal that was probably like two or 3 roads across. And I remember going there and viewing it, and it was a cheap entry point compared to other investments, and then just ended up buying it. It was on paper, it was a good deal. Like it was £39,999.
That's how much it cost? My goodness.
Wow.
How many years ago was this?
4 now. 2018 is
Wow.
So 3 years ago, 4 years ago.
This is what area are you talking?
Burnley.
Okay,
Yeah,
cool.
and there's still properties like in that price range as well. Still, I'd say maybe like 10k more. But the one thing that no one tells you is that you can't get a mortgage. Well, I knew that you couldn't get a mortgage under 40k, but even if I paid 40k for it and it was still technically mortgageable, you still can't get a mortgage for that
Totally
low.
forgot about that, you know. Like, you can't get a mortgage if something is cheap. If it's under 40k.
There's only specific lenders who will lend up to like, I think under 80k, because the loan size is so low that they don't want to invest in something like that. Which is why no one ever tells you that. Pardon?
I said no one ever told you that. You're right.
So for those kind of properties, you have to pay in cash then?
Yeah.
Okay.
But it also had a £20,000 council loan to refurbish the property, which I pay.
Wow.
And it's interest free for 10 years. So it just comes out of my monthly statement, basically. So
just you and me.
That's a lot there.
Dial it back a bit. So obviously you saw the property, 39,000, blah blah blah.
Where did you find it, by the way? Just online?
No, it was a source deal.
Source deals. Okay, cool.
If you was listening, you would have heard.
Sorry.
Okay.
His phone rang.
I think I saw that on your reel one time that you looked at, that you got a good property deal from a source deal.
Yeah, all my deals are source deals.
There you go, people. Cool. So don't be looking at the price thinking, hey, this ain't a good deal. Like these are source deals for a reason.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
You knew about the council loan. What was that about? What's that?
It was just this particular lady, Janice. She just helped me throughout the whole process. She was Janice. I understand why sources source properties, because I know they can't take on, if they're finding so many good deals, like not even good deals, but like average deals. Like they just can't take them all. And plus you don't want to take on 50 deals in a year.
Absolutely.
And I understand that why people source properties now. I never knew that from the start. And yeah, she was sourcing it. It was the exact same deal that my aunt literally had done maybe 2 months earlier.
Okay.
So anything that she was doing, I was just replicating the process basically.
Okay, nice.
So yeah.
Has your aunt been in property a while or?
Yeah, she had one buy-to-let like 12, 13 years ago or something, but just never like did much until we were like actively looking, and I was like trying to go into property and she was trying to go into property, and like it's just one of those times where like I'm gonna do it now. And then they started to do it, and we were just like, well, we're all doing the same thing, let's help each other. Because I don't think without them I would have been in this position where I am now. And like, not to sound big-headed, but I don't think they would have done as much either. So I think
Value, symbiotic value.
the accountability, like everything in it, just us pushing each other, because I know like where we want to go, and we help each other because
So
we know
you're almost the driving force then in the team then.
Pardon?
You're the driving force.
No, I'm not the driving force.
Oh,
they 100% are, but like
both ways.
I think both of us, like all three of us together, just help each other, because we know like if one person slacks, like
It's like us, basically.
because I don't think I would have done it on my own or got this far on my own.
How did you structure the deals as well? Is it a joint
So
venture? Was it
that
loan
one was
agreement?
in my own name.
Okay.
Yeah, that one was
That
in my
first
own
one was in your own name. Right?
Yeah, I don't know why I put it in my own name, because the amount of tax I have to pay.
So with that one, what kind of rental income would you get in, and what kind of profits were you making?
So
from that one?
I turned it into a mini-mo. So it's a 3-bedroom HMO.
What do you call it? Minimo.
Yeah, mini-mo.
Wow, I've never heard that before.
Get with the terms, bro.
He didn't know as well, by the way.
I didn't. I did my research. My phone don't go off during the podcast.
He didn't know. That's how you look confused as well. You look confused as well.
Minimum.
Yeah,
Minimo.
so 3-bedroom HMO, doesn't need a license or anything. It needs a selective license now, but converted it. So I spent about £25,000 on it to refurbish it, £5,000 for my own money, and then the council loan paid for the rest of it. I still don't know if I'm 100% agreeing with the council loan or not, because it does eat into your profits. And it's like, you've got to pay it over 10 years. And I'm like, should I have just given someone X% and just paid it off in a year or whatever?
Yeah, got you.
It was
It's part of the learning process, though, isn't it?
With the council loan, who told you about it though? Was it part of the package deal, or you found out along the way?
Yeah, she was like, you can go for it if you want to. And I was like, for me, obviously it made sense. Like, I don't have to fund another 20k to 25k to refurbish the property. So yeah, it was just
I'm just taking notes, like, and also, sorry, just gonna ask as well for the people listening in, the actual sourcing deals that you got, how much were you paying for like a deal? Roughly.
So that one was, and she helped me with all the paperwork and stuff. So she goes, if you want a council loan, I think it was like, so she said without the council loan, I think it was like 3k, because there wasn't much to it. But I think with the council loan, like she literally helped with every single paperwork, like everything. She literally held my hand on how to buy property with the solicitors, everything. So I paid £5,000 for that.
Yeah, because we've got a lot of people that would want to be hands off completely, or some people who want to be a bit more hands on. So this is for everyone listening in, really.
Yeah. And then what took you from doing that was the first deal you did, right? Yeah. What took you to doing the second deal? What did that look like, and how did you get into that?
So this is when I was doing the course, and I was trying to, and everyone's telling me different things. Everyone's like, go to North, no, like stay close to you, make London work. Like I was just so confused. And I remember someone like saying go into rent to rent, like near me, like and Heathrow, like service accommodation. I was like, how am I supposed to do rent to rent when I'm commuting an hour and a half to go into work every single day? I didn't know how to do it. And I didn't want to, I was so adamant at the start that when I was like going into property, I didn't want to be hands-on. I didn't want to look after lettings. I didn't, like, and this is one of the reasons why I ruled out rent to rent, because I didn't want to be involved. I didn't want to, do all the little things. I just didn't want that. And I was like, if I'm going into a business, I'm doing it for the end goal. And that's what I want to do from the start, not to be in it, running it. Like, I don't do much in the I don't, like, literally social media is my full-time job for property. So.
And trust me, we watch your reels, they're amazing. You know when you got the whole and the things are coming up, that's it. I want to do that, but I can't
it's
do
really
it.
awkward at the start, and you just roll with it. And then I've got like, I don't know, like, because I think before reel, it's like I only like had like maybe 2,000 or 3,000 followers, and then it just went. As soon as I started doing reels, I don't know why, just like some of them went. I called them mini viral because they're not like millions of views, but like they got. I think one of them got like 100,000 views. And it was like
crazy.
yeah, and
Gems,
it was like
guys.
it was something silly. Like it was like people telling that you can't get a buy-to-let deal as your first deal or something like that, or like you can't buy a property without getting a buy-to-let, whatever. So yeah, and it just, and then I like, and just, I don't know, people just associated me as like me with reels basically. But I haven't really been posting on social media as much as I like was before as well. But I just think coming out of lockdown, going out, and I want to live life as well.
You've got to balance both.
Exactly.
So so like I was saying, with the first one, obviously you use that as a minimum. How much was you getting for rental income, and was you happy with that? Was that what you wanted? Or?
And just before you talk about the numbers, we're going to take a short break.
Just cut me off again.
And then we're going to
cut me off again, guys. Twice in a row now.
In part 2. So stay tuned, guys. Thank you very much.